So it's been a minute since I've been here, since I've been on this site being YouTube, and no excuse, but I'm here. Today I am doing a project that I'm hoping I can release before the game comes out. As we all know, or you are now finding out, but you probably already knew, the new Pokemon series is extension whatever is coming out, Scarlet Violet, this month, November 18th, 2022 I think is the day. I might be wrong on that. We'll find out in editing if I am. I really like one of the starters. It's the green cat. It's the grass type cat. It's the cat that looks like you could really hang out with her and have a good time. The hippie cat. I'm gonna make the ears and tail, and I previously tried to make Jigglypuff ears and those came out horribly, but hopefully I have learned a trick or two and we can make some not horrible ears of Sprigatito, Sprigato? I think it's Sprigatito. Lead cat.
I wanted to start by quickly going over the materials I used. The only thing that wasn't leftovers from another project I had started and done before was the green fur. I did buy the green fur for this project. So real quickly, the materials were the cheap green fur, 4mm EVA foam, 12 gauge jewelry wire, green airbrush paint, and ribbon. I did also use things like my hot glue gun, pliers, the headband I attach the ears to, scissors, etc. All the types of like normal tools you'll see throughout, but those are the main materials for the ears and tail. As for order of operations, I started with the ears. I thought they were going to be harder and take longer, so I wanted to start there. I drew a pattern on the paper for the shape of the ears and then cut it out and traced it onto the foam scraps I was using. This was actually my second attempt at making this set of ears, so the pattern was already drawn up for me. I cut the foam with an X-Acto knife at as close to a 45-degree angle that I could so that the wire would have something to rest on when added later. I then used the foam cutouts as a rough stencil on the fur. I just need to make sure that the fur is cut bigger than the foam. I tried to use my chalk and then a pencil to trace the outline, but they weren't showing up, so I just used the green Sharpie thinking it wouldn't matter much anyway since I was going to be coloring the fur darker in that area. Next, I wanted to measure out and shape the wire. The wire helps hold the shape when I bend the ears, and it wraps the ears onto the headband in the end. And this went way smoother than I expected. I usually have a hard time manipulating this wire and it gets all lumpy, and I mean, it's kind of lumpy, but it's not as bad as it usually is. Once I've got it shaped up, I just gotta place it on the foam and grab my hot glue gun. That, for once, I actually did remember to have on the side already preheating. I traced the wire with hot glue, making sure to get some glue on the foam, as well as making a little fur sandwich. It stacks fur, foam, wire, glue, fur. I usually burn myself a lot when I do any project with my hot glue gun, but this time I seem to have learned. I use a plastic lid from a small tote and apply pressure to the glue fur sandwich until I feel confident I won't get burned, and then I squeeze and edit as needed. And I did get burned, but only once, and not bad at all. Like, didn't even leave a mark. So, that's a success. I want to get the tail started before I work on the ears too much longer, so I lay the fur out on the floor and I use the Sharpie to draw out what I feel is a good shaped tail for Sprigatito. I accidentally cut the second half of the tail the wrong way, so I had to redraw and recut it. But I have a ton of extra fur, so I'm not really bothered. Not a big issue. Once I have the two tail halves cut out, I start trimming down the fur around the edges, making a huge mess on my floor, and I probably should have worn a mask because my god, did so much fur get in my nose. Like, probably legitimately unhealthy. Then I stack the two halves fluffy side together and I do my best to pin the edges for sewing. It took me more time than I would like to admit. When it's ready, it's off to the sewing machine. Trimming the fur around the edges helps some, but sewing fur is always a struggle. I'm very thankful for my heavy-duty sewing machine, but I still tried to go slow, and the machine still tried to run off with the fur a few times.
Okay, we're not here to talk about my hair today. I just can't remember if I shot any clips before I sewed the tail together, so I thought I would make this little cut-in to show it's just two halves roughly in this shape sewn together, and I brushed the seam. I trimmed the seam and brushed the seam before sewing. I can't find it, so that I would not be able to find it like this here. It's like it's pretty alright. So I was gonna start stuffing it before I sew the elastic strap on, and I'm gonna do some like last minute trims on the ears to just kind of make them look less funky. And then I have green. We have green paint I'm gonna detail with. Thought it was gonna have like forest green. I thought it had like a descriptor before it, but no. It's just green. Let's finish this.
Stuffing was really easy. I just kept trying to stretch the stuffing out once it was inside the tail because I wanted a really light, fluffy, slinky feel to it in the end. The entire time I was doing this, I was watching trash TV like 90 Day Fiancé on the side. What TV shows do you guys watch?
Okay, so we're done stuffing it, and it kind of just it makes me think of those worms on a string or a giant pickle. But I don't know. I just needed a fluffy tail. I think it works. My giant pickle or worm. I want 10.
Up until this point here, everything was going so well. But now, my airbrush gun has an issue. It's clogged somewhere along the paint line and it will blow out air, but no paint. I have no choice but to improvise after trying a deep clean on the gun twice and having no luck. After the second attempt of unclogging the gun, I just said screw it and took a brush to the ears. This made the paint way more uneven, but I didn't want to give up. I was already on the second attempt, and it would be a huge waste to give up at this point. During the painting process, I kept trimming and editing the shape of the ears to keep things nice and neat. And then once the paint was dry, I was able to attach the ears to a headband by wrapping the wire I had glued in earlier, and I began to shape them the way I wanted them to sit on my head. We're in the home stretch now. Just detailing the tail is left because I forgot to record footage of attaching the elastic to the tail. I sewed that in by hand. I also forgot to record footage of adding some details to the ears, some fake piercings and some safety pins and stuff, but you'll see the finished product soon, so it's not really a huge deal. So sorry. As for finishing the tail, I do my best to brush out the fur that is caught on the seams before adding safety pins to the top for a more grungy look. Then I add the waist tie ribbon and put it on my mannequin while I add a couple of bows to the end of the tail with the matching ribbon. And that's it. It's done. All done. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I truly hope you enjoyed it. Every view, like, comment, and sub helps my channel grow and reach new people who might also enjoy the content I create, so thank you again.